Welcome to Marble Mind. Here, we forge an unshakable spirit in the fire of ancient wisdom. Today, we will look into the abyss of why silence is your most dangerous weapon, and we will find our strength there. Listen closely. The world is a cacophony of meaningless noise, a constant, frantic scream for attention. We are taught that to be seen is to exist, and to speak is to have power. But the ancients knew a darker, deeper truth. The loudest man in the room is often the weakest, for his soul is leaking through his lips. Every word you utter without purpose is a drop of your life force wasted. Every reaction you give to an insult is a surrender of your sovereignty. Before we descend further into the shadows of this wisdom, I challenge you. Do not be a passive ghost in this digital void. If you are ready to master your own tongue and reclaim your power, write one word in the comments, stillness, or leave a short sentence about the one thing you will stop reacting to starting today. This is not for the algorithm. It is for you. It is your signature on a contract with your own soul. Mark your presence. Let the world know a statue is being carved from the chaos. Imagine a storm, waves crashing against a jagged cliffside. The water is violent, loud, and chaotic. But the cliff? The cliff is silent. It does not argue with the tide. It does not justify its existence to the spray. It simply stands. And in time, the water breaks itself against the stone. That stone is the Stoic mind. Silence is not the absence of thought. It is the ultimate concentration of power. It is the stillness before the strike, the vacuum that sucks the air out of your opponent's lungs. In this journey, we will strip away the illusion of chatter. We will learn how Zeno, the father of Stoicism, valued ears twice as much as the tongue. We will see how Marcus Aurelius found an empire of peace within himself, while the world outside burned in war. We will master the art of the strategic void. If you came here for comfort, leave now. But if you came to build a fortress that no storm can breach, then stay. Silence your surroundings. Silence your phone. Silence your mind. We are about to begin. The first stone in our foundation is understanding what silence truly is. It is not merely the closing of the mouth. It is the closing of the gates to your inner citadel. The ancient Stoics lived in a world as loud as ours, filled with the roar of the Colosseum and the bickering of the Forum. Yet they practiced ascesis, a rigorous discipline of the soul. Epictetus, born a slave, understood that his body could be chained, but his silence was his own. He taught his students, be silent for the most part, or if you speak, say only what is necessary and in a few words. Why? Because when you speak, you reveal your boundaries. You show the world exactly where you can be hurt, influenced, or manipulated. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't matter, you are handing them a map of your insecurities. Think of your energy as a literal fire. A controlled flame provides warmth and light. It can melt iron. No. If you let that flame flicker and jump at every passing breeze, it dissipates. It becomes nothing but smoke. When you react instantly to a tweet, a comment, or a provocation, you are throwing your precious coal into the wind. You are becoming a puppet, dancing to a rhythm set by someone else. Silence is the ultimate act of rebellion against a world that demands your reaction. When you refuse to speak, you create a vacuum. People fear a vacuum. They rush to fill it with their own insecurities, their own secrets, their own noise. In any negotiation, in any conflict, the man who can sit in silence for 60 seconds longer than his adversary has already won. He has become the observer, while the other has become the prey. Consider the life of Cato the Younger. He would often spend days in total silence, walking through the streets of Rome, ignored or mocked by the masses. Why would a man of such power choose to be a ghost? Because he was training. He was making himself indifferent to the opinions of the herd. He knew that if he could control his tongue when he was insulted, he could control his fear when he faced death. Silence was his armor, forged in the cold forge of self-denial. Practical application for you, the modern student of the marble. For the next 24 hours, practice the 3-second rule. Before you respond to any question, any insult, or even any praise, wait. Count to 3. Watch the urge to speak rise in your throat like a wave, and let it break against the stone of your will. Feel the power that comes from withholding. You will notice that most of what you were going to say was unnecessary. It was ego. It was a desperate need to be heard or right. By choosing silence, you are choosing the path of the emperor. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations about the inner retreat. You do not need to go to the mountains or the sea to find peace. You can find it within yourself at any moment by simply shutting the doors of the senses. Silence is the wall of that retreat. It is the cold, hard marble that protects the flame of your reason from the howling winds of the world's madness. Do not be afraid of the quiet. The quiet is where the truth resides. The quiet is where you finally hear the sound of your own soul, stripped of the masks you wear for others. It is heavy, it is demanding, but it is the only place where a man can truly be free. Silence is not a void. It is a reservoir of potential. It is the bowstring pulled back to the limit, silent, tense, and deadly accurate. When you finally do speak from this place of stillness, your words will not be mere vibrations in the air. They will be commands. They will be strikes. They will be eternal. The world is hungry for your response. It baits you, hooks you, and waits for you to twitch. Every headline, every passive-aggressive remark from a colleague, every digital notification is a fishing line cast into the depths of your mind. If you bite, you are caught. The Stoic knows that between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and our power. Silence is the physical manifestation of that space. When someone insults you, they are offering you a gift of poison. If you speak, if you argue, if you defend your honor, you have accepted the gift. You have taken the poison into your own veins. But if you remain silent, the gift remains with the giver, and it consumes them instead of you. Epictetus used to say, if someone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses. Just answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. This is the mastery of the void. You do not push back. You simply are not there to be hit. Silence is the ultimate no. It is the refusal to engage in a game that is beneath you. Think of a massive, dark mountain. A dog barks at the mountain. Does the mountain bark back? Does the mountain feel the need to explain its height or its age to the dog? No. The mountain simply remains. Your silence should be like that mountain. It is a form of psychological dominance that few can withstand. When you do not react, you become an enigma. You become unreadable. And in the world of men, that which cannot be read is feared. The power of non-reaction is not about being a passive victim. It is about being a tactical predator of your own emotions. You are watching the anger rise. You are watching the hurt pride scream. And you are choosing to let them die in the vacuum of your silence. This is the internal fire that Marcus Aurelius spoke of. The fire that consumes all obstacles and turns them into fuel for itself. When you starve a conflict of words, it has no oxygen. It must burn out. Next time you feel the heat of a retort rising in your chest, remember the marble. Feel the coldness of the stone against your skin. Ask yourself, does this word serve my purpose, or does it serve my ego? If it is ego, kill it with silence. Bury it in the depths of your own restraint. This is how you build a soul that is made of iron, not glass. Glass shatters when struck. Iron absorbs the blow and remains unchanged. There is a terrifying quality to a man who listens and does not speak. In the courts of kings and the boardrooms of empires, the one who speaks least often sees the most. Silence is a mirror. When you stop the noise of your own opinions, you create a reflective surface. People are naturally uncomfortable with the quiet. It feels like a weight, a pressure. To relieve this pressure, they begin to talk and talk and talk. They reveal their motives, their insecurities, their hidden agendas. They hand you the keys to their fortress because they cannot endure the sound of their own heartbeat in the silence you have provided. The philosopher Seneca, an advisor to Nero, lived in a den of vipers. He survived as long as he did because he mastered the art of the observant ear. He knew that the tongue is a traitor. By remaining silent, you allow the world to reveal itself to you. You see the twitch in the eye, the slight tremor in the voice, the contradiction in the logic. While others are busy crafting their next sentence, you are busy dissecting their soul. This is the strategic void. You are not just being quiet, you are creating a trap. In a world of pretenders, silence is the only way to find what is real. If you want to know a person's true character, do not ask them. Just wait. Let the silence hang between you like a heavy mist. Eventually, the mask will slip. The ego will try to fill the gap with a lie or a boast. And in that moment, you will see them as they truly are. Practicing this requires a cold heart. You must resist the urge to be polite. You must resist the urge to fill the awkward gap in conversation. Let it be awkward. Let it be uncomfortable. That discomfort is the sound of their ego breaking against your stillness. You are the rock in the stream, and the water must flow around you, revealing its true path. This discipline is not for the weak. It requires a level of self-control that most men will never possess. But for you, the student of the marble mind, it is a fundamental tool. You are a sculptor, and silence is your chisel. You are cutting away the excess noise of the world to reveal the truth beneath. If this path resonates in your heart, become a part of our brotherhood. Subscribe to Marble Mind. Let us continue to forge our spirits together in the quiet of the forge. Silence is not just an external shield, it is an internal battleground. Most men fear silence because when the world stops screaming, they are forced to hear the noise inside their own heads. The regrets of the past, the anxieties of the future, the endless, trivial chatter of the monkey mind. The Stoic does not run from this inner noise, he confronts it. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the inner citadel, a place where the mind is independent of the body's sensations and the world's opinions. But you cannot enter this citadel if you are constantly talking to yourself. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, Seneca warned. And that imagination is fed by words, by the stories we tell ourselves about our failures, our enemies, and our fate. When you master external silence, you must turn that weapon inward. You must learn to silence the narrator, that voice in your head that judges everything, labels everything, and complains about everything. This is bad. He was mean to me. I might fail. This is the internal rot that weakens the stone. To be truly silent is to look at a situation with bare eyes, to see the event, but not the story you've attached to it. Imagine your mind as a deep, dark lake. When you are constantly speaking and reacting, the surface is agitated. You cannot see the bottom. You cannot see the truth. But when you enforce silence, both of the tongue and of the internal dialogue, the sediment settles. The water becomes crystal clear. Only then can you see the sharp rocks below. Only then can you navigate your life with the precision of a master. Practical advice. When a disturbing thought enters your mind, do not argue with it. Do not speak to it. Simply name it and then impose silence. Say to yourself, "This is a thought, not a fact." And then return to the void. This internal hush is the highest form of power. It is the ability to remain calm while the world around you collapses. It is the quiet of the commander in the heat of the slaughter. There is a reason why the silent treatment is considered one of the most effective psychological tools. It is because silence is a denial of validation. To argue with a man is to acknowledge that his opinion matters. To yell at an enemy is to show him that he has the power to move you. But to remain silent, to look at a provocateur with the cold, unblinking eyes of a statue, that is a declaration of his insignificance. In the world of the Stoic, your attention is your most valuable currency. Do not spend it on the unworthy. When someone attacks you with words, they are expecting a counterattack. They have prepared their defenses for a verbal war. By remaining silent, you refuse to enter the battlefield. You leave them swinging their sword at thin air. They lose balance. They lose composure. They lose their dignity. Think of the trial of Socrates. Though he spoke, he did so with such detached indifference to his own death that his accusers were the ones who appeared panicked and small. Or think of the Spartan warriors, famous for their laconic speech. They did not waste breath on boasts or threats. When an enemy threatened that their arrows would blot out the sun, the Spartans simply replied, "Then we shall fight in the shade." This brevity is a weapon. It shows that you are in total control of your impulses. A man who cannot be provoked is a man who cannot be defeated. Your silence acts as a vacuum that that sucks the ego out of your opponent. They will try to get a reaction out of you. They will insult your pride, your family, your work. But if you stand there, as still as marble, they will eventually realize that they are screaming at a God who does not hear them. In your personal life, use silence to set boundaries. If someone speaks to you with disrespect, do not lower yourself to their level. Do not shout back. Simply stop. Look at them. Let the silence stretch until it becomes heavy and suffocating. Most people will instinctively apologize or back down just to break the tension. You have won the battle without firing a single shot. This is the static strike. It is the most honorable way to crush an opponent, by simply refusing to recognize their power over your peace. The man who speaks too much is like a merchant who gives away his gold for free. Soon, his treasury is empty, and no one values his currency. The Stoic, however, treats every word as a precious coin. He does not spend them on trivialities. The concept of laconic speech, named after the Spartans of Laconia, is the pinnacle of this discipline. It is the art of saying more with less. When you speak in short, punchy, and deliberate sentences, your words carry weight. They land like hammer blows on an anvil. People stop and listen because they know you don't waste air. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, used to say that we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth for a reason: to listen twice as much as we speak. But modern man has inverted this. We live in an age of oversharing. We vomit our thoughts into the digital void, hoping for a like or a share to validate our existence. This is a sign of a porous soul. If your thoughts are always escaping your lips, they have no time to ferment and become wisdom. Practice verbal minimalism. In your next meeting, in your next dinner, or in your next conflict, see how much you can convey with the absolute minimum of words. Use the power of the pause. A pause before an answer suggests deep thought. A pause after a statement forces the listener to digest it. When you are brief, you are dangerous. Why? Because people cannot tell what you are thinking. You leave them guessing. You become the master of the narrative because you are the one who provides the least amount of data for others to use against you. Remember, you can never be misquoted if you remain silent. You can never take back a word once it has left your teeth, but you can always choose not to release it. Control the flow, or the flow will control you. We live in the loudest era in human history. Not just physical noise, but the relentless screaming of the global forum. Your pocket contains a device designed to shatter your silence every few minutes. It demands your attention, your outrage, your opinion, and your time. To a Stoic, this is a form of slavery. If you cannot go an hour without checking the thoughts of strangers, you are not a free man. You are a leaf blown by the wind of public opinion. Marcus Aurelius warned us not to waste what remains of our lives in speculating about our neighbors, unless for some big reason of the common good. He was talking about the gossip of Rome, but he might as well have been talking about your social media feed. Silence in the 21st century is a radical act of self-defense. It means turning off the notifications. It means refusing to weigh in on the controversy of the day. It means being comfortable with being uninformed about things that do not move the needle of your virtue. Does it matter to your character what a celebrity said? Does it change your destiny what the masses are shouting about today? No. True power is the ability to walk through a crowded, screaming marketplace and remain entirely alone in your mind. This is what the Stoics called apatheia, not a lack of feeling, but a freedom from being overwhelmed by external things. You must cultivate a digital silence. Stop reacting to the bait. The algorithm is designed to trigger your ego. It wants you to be angry. It wants you to be defensive. It wants you to talk. When you refuse, you break the cycle. You reclaim your focus, the most valuable resource you possess. By choosing what not to listen to, you are choosing who you want to become. Create zones of silence in your day. No music, no podcasts, no screens. Just the weight of the air and the clarity of your own thoughts. It will feel uncomfortable at first. You will feel an itch to reach for your phone. That itch is the feeling of your addiction breaking. Stay in that discomfort. Let the silence wash away the digital filth. You are cleaning the windows of your soul so that you can finally see the horizon. The world is a battlefield of egos, and every word you speak is a crack in your shield. When you explain your plans, you dilute your resolve. When you complain about your hardships, you advertise your vulnerability. The Stoic understands that true strength is self-contained. It is a sealed vessel, pressurized and potent. Epictetus once said, "Let silence be your general rule." Think of silence as a physical barrier, a wall of cold marble between your inner peace and the chaotic intentions of others. When you are silent, you are invulnerable to the most common weapon of the masses: manipulation. A person cannot manipulate a void. They cannot pull strings that aren't there. By withholding your words, you withhold the handles by which people attempt to lead you. Think of the great leaders of history who moved empires with a glance. They did not win by outshouting their opponents. They won by outlasting them in the quiet. This is the discipline of the Iron Mask. Even when your heart is racing, even when anger is boiling in your blood, your face and your tongue must remain as still as a tomb. This disconnect between your internal storm and your external stillness is what makes you a master of any situation. Practice being the quiet observer in your own life. When you feel the desperate urge to justify yourself to someone who has misunderstood you, don't. Let their misunderstanding be their problem, not yours. Your truth does not need their consensus to exist. By remaining silent, you prove that you are the master of your own reality. You don't need to borrow certainty from the lips of others. Your thought is vital. Leave a short but powerful comment under this video. Let it be your seal on today's lesson. Marcus Aurelius often practiced what modern Stoics call the view from above. He would imagine himself rising high above the earth, looking down at the swarming cities, the marching armies, and the silent graveyards. From that height, the noise of humanity disappears. The bickering, the insults, the fame, and the scandals, they are all swallowed by the silence of the stars. Silence is the language of the cosmos. The planets move in silence. The sun burns in silence. Time itself passes without a sound. When we embrace silence, we align ourselves with the fundamental nature of the universe. We stop being small men obsessed with small things and start becoming part of the eternal order. In the grand theater of time, your greatest problems are but whispers in a hurricane. This realization shouldn't make you feel insignificant. It should make you feel free. If the noise of the world doesn't matter in 100 years, why should it matter today? Why waste your limited breath arguing over things that are destined to be dust? The monumental silence is the ability to look at your own life through the lens of eternity. When you do this, your priorities shift. You stop seeking the applause of the crowd, which is nothing but the clapping of tongues, as Marcus called it. You start seeking the approval of your own conscience. You begin to value the unspoken virtues, endurance, justice, and self-control, more than the spoken vices of fame and status. This is the ultimate perspective. When you carry the silence of the stars within you, nothing on this earth can truly disturb you. You are like a deep ocean. While the surface may be whipped into a frenzy by the wind, the depths remain cold, dark, and perfectly still. This is where your true self resides, in the depths, where the noise of the world cannot reach. The ultimate test of a Stoic is not what he says, but what he is. In the end, words are just shadows of reality. You can talk about virtue for a lifetime, but virtue only exists in the moment of choice, in the heat of the struggle, and in the coldness of the quiet. Marcus Aurelius gave us the most powerful command in all of philosophy. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Notice the silence in that command. It does not ask for a manifesto. It does not ask for a speech. It asks for a transformation that occurs in the marrow of your bones, far below the reach of language. Real power is silent because it is self-evident. A lion does not need to roar to prove he is a predator. His presence is enough. When you live with total integrity, when you fulfill your duties without complaint, and when you face your fears without seeking sympathy, you are speaking a language that the world cannot ignore. Your life becomes a monument that stands in silent defiance of the chaos around it. This is the eloquent silence of the wise. It is the ability to act with such precision and such calm that no explanation is required. If you are building a business, do it in silence. If you are training your body, do it in silence. If you are healing a broken soul, do it in silence. Let your results be the noise. Let your success be the thunder that follows the lightning of your quiet work. When you stop talking about your intentions, you create a pressure cooker of will. The energy that would have been wasted in telling is instead channeled into doing. You become a force of nature, relentless, unstoppable, and quiet. Remember, the most dangerous man in the world is the one who has nothing to prove and everything to achieve. He has mastered the art of being invisible until the moment he becomes inevitable. The journey into the abyss of silence is over, but your work has just begun. We have explored the strategic void. We have learned how to use the 3-second rule to reclaim our sovereignty. We have seen how to turn the silent treatment into a shield of armor and how to find the view from above where the noise of the world fades into the eternal hush of the stars. But do not let these be just more words to fill your head. Philosophy is not a hobby. It is a way of dying to your old, weak self so that a stronger man can be born. The world will try to pull you back into the screaming crowd the moment you turn off this video. It will tempt you with a notification, a petty argument, or a hollow compliment. In that moment, remember the stone. Be the marble. Let the world's noise wash over you like rain on a statue. It may wet the surface, but it cannot penetrate the core. You have the inner citadel. You have the static strike. You have the power to simply not react. Carry this silence with you like a hidden blade. Use it to cut through the lies of the ego and the distractions of the digital age. When you speak, speak with the weight of a mountain. When you act, act with the inevitability of the tide. But for the most part, listen, observe, stand in the stillness and watch the world reveal its secrets to you. The loudest thing about you should be your character. The most powerful thing about you should be your restraint. Go now and find your strength in the shadows. Become the quiet master of your fate. For in the kingdom of the blind, the one who sees is king. But in the kingdom of the loud, the one who is silent is God. Welcome to the silence of the marble mind.